Hello, my name's Michelle O'Neill. I'm the National Secretary of the Textile Clothing and Footwear Union of Australia, and I'm also the co-chair of Industrial's Global Women's Committee. And it's my great honour today to be able to send this message to the participants of the JCM Gender Equality Promotion Seminar. I want to start by acknowledging my friends and colleagues from the Japanese unions and particularly from JCM. I want to acknowledge my brother Ahara-san, the president, and also acknowledge the JCM vice presidents, the women union leaders of JCM, and of course the colleagues who are in charge of gender equality programs with JCM. And I also want to say hello to all of you who are participating in this very important event. I represent workers here in Australia who work in the textile clothing and footwear industry. But as part of Industrial, we have come together across many industries, some of which have a majority of women who are workers, and many of whom have a lower percentage of women who work in the industries. And our unions globally reflect the same thing. We have some unions, both here in Australia and around the world, where we have women leaders, and we have some unions where the participation of women in the elected leadership positions is very, very small. And one of the things we've committed to do together as part of Industrial is to try and lift the participation of women and the involvement of women in every single level of our union activity, from the grassroots, from the shop floor, right through to the leadership of our unions at a national and international level. I have had much opportunity over my years in the union movement to see the things that work and the things that don't work in terms of encouraging women to participate. And I wanted to spend a few minutes today talking to you about some of those issues. But also I want to talk about the very important issue of why we need to encourage women to be active in unions, why we firstly need to encourage women to join unions, and then secondly to be active in the work that we do. Let's start with the obvious. Women make up half the world. And when you look at the position that women are in and the work that they do and that their jobs we're in, you find that women are much more likely to be low paid. Even when they're doing the same jobs as men, there is a big issue with the gender gap in wages. We find women are more likely to be in jobs that are casual and insecure and informal in the sectors that they work in. We also know that women are much more likely to experience discrimination, harassment and violence at work. And we also know women have the dual responsibilities still to this day of being the primary caregivers when it comes to children and family members who need care. And they also suffer violence not just at the workplace but in their home and on the streets. So the issues for women and women workers are enormous. The challenges we face as a union movement is to make sure that we are relevant to women workers, that women see unions as something that are natural for them to join. And this doesn't happen just by us wishing it to happen. If you're going to be part of an organisation, then how that organisation looks, how it sounds, the messages it gives is critical to whether you feel like this is the organisation for you. So changing the role of women in our unions leadership nationally and internationally is a critical part of actually making ourselves accessible to women workers. Where women workers can see that unions have women members, but not just members, but that those women are influencing the decisions that have some power over the type of union that they are a member of, and that they're able to be part of the direction that the union is heading and the struggles that it's having for workers, then that makes women workers see it as their organisation. As an organisation they're much more likely to want to join and be part of. Of course, the other thing we know about having women participate in organisations, and particularly in unions, is it makes for better unions. Because the more that we are diverse, the more that we actually represent the broad type of workers that there are in the workforce, and the more that we're able to show leadership, the better unions that we are. We need and to acknowledge that unions are founded, that our struggles are founded on the basic premise of fairness and equality for women workers, women being able to be represented at the workplace, in their unions and in society and in politics is fundamentally about fairness. So as unions, we believe in equality. We believe in people being treated with dignity and respect. And our struggle to ensure that women are represented and that women are part of our leadership is a natural progression of our belief in fairness. So one of the things that we've been doing with Industrial is we've been talking now since the birth of Industrial about how to ensure that we have women participating in the organisation. And we've succeeded in having some changes. And Asia Pacific has led the way as far as having women's representation in our regional representation and executive and global executive members for Industrial. But we've also moved from having a women's committee to now having a global women's standing committee that is recognised in our constitution. We've moved from having vice chairs of our region to having co-chairs of every region, where there's both a woman and a man that co-chair all our regional bodies. And we've also moved to our sectors in having co-chairs as well. So in every sector of Industrial, there is both a woman and a man that are co-chairs leading those sectors. These are huge gains. We've also had much debate about the role of having quotas and targets and set representation of women in our structures. We've moved just at the last Congress in Brazil in October to having a target of 40% women's representation across Industrial. And this is an important thing for us to strive for. Personally, I believe that we really need to set absolute, clear pathways to ensure that women are going to be there. We can't just set a target and hope for the best. We need to start with the sort of work you're doing today. We need to start with talking to women and men about how to ensure that women's voices are heard and having an opportunity to realise that that diversity, that depth of life experience and understanding about what happens to workers and what happens in workplaces is critical for us to be better unions. We're going to win better conditions and rights for workers if we have women that are part of the organisations that are having those struggles. We also, I think, need to acknowledge that for women to get there, it's not that there is any need for any, it's not that women have any lesser capacity. Women have all of the knowledge, understanding, skills and strength to be able to be leaders. But we have to make sure that we provide the opportunities. We have to give the confidence, and confidence often comes about through building up women's skills, building up women's capacity to participate, making sure they understand our structures, making sure they understand the rules, making sure they understand how people get to participate, who gets to talk when, how meetings are organised, how it is that you are able to stand up and propose change or propose resolutions. I really think opportunities for women to get together, whether it's in seminars, forums, online, in person, in training sessions, in women's committees, in women's activities in the unions, really gives an opportunity for women to see what's possible. We've had a great program operating where I live here in Melbourne in Australia for many years that honours a woman leader who died. And it's a program where once a year for 2 weeks, women leaders come off the job from the range of different industries and jobs that they work in. They spend 2 weeks together, and it's a mixture of time that they spend talking about what is happening in the union movement and how unions operate, but also they have time where they go out on the job with a particular union, where they see how that union works, how it is structured, how women participate in its activities. And out of this program that's been running now for, I think, close to 20 years, we have seen so many women union leaders emerge. Women who started off as maybe not very confident, but through that program and participating in their own union have begun to see what's possible and are now leading their unions here in Australia and in some cases around the world. So I know we can do this. I know that JCM has a serious and real commitment to encouraging and developing and supporting the engagement and the involvement of women in your unions. And I want to acknowledge that and congratulate you for the work you've already done. And I want to say that our work together for the future is so important. And I believe that JCM, your leadership, the women coming through your ranks, will be part of the future of our union movement in Japan, in Asia Pacific, and around the world. I wish you all the very best for your seminar, and thank you again for the opportunity to address you today.